This year, I've made 8 garments, 3 accessories, 5 films in drafting that nobody's watched, 2 of my showcase films, and 3 that I just can't really categorize. I'm pretty proud of the work that I've made this year. Some things are better than others, so let's go and have a good look at the first of them. This is my Spider-Punk vest. I didn't actually switch to dressing like Joey Ramone all the time. I love this thing, but it just doesn't fit in my wardrobe. It's not punk enough, if you know what I mean, but it's also just that little bit too punk. Like I feel like I'm trying to represent some sort of image of 16-year-old me rather than being the full-blown grown-up that I actually am. Probably one of the finest bits of hand stitching I did all year. I don't think anybody else has got a better Spider-Punk jacket video on the internet at the moment. Come at me if you think there's a better one out there, but I know I did, and I'm pretty proud of myself. I would say though that the movie did automatically make the leather jacket immediately cool.
I was just cool the whole time.
That costume is far stronger than anything that's appeared in the comic books. However, this is probably really controversial. Best summer blockbuster this year was Rise of the Beasts. That's my opinion, don't come after me. There was nothing wrong with Spider-Verse. They kind of had to kill their darlings. It was like half an hour too long, and I hate movies that are just too long. So yeah, this is my Spidey vest, and it's pretty awesome, but I'm never gonna wear it. Oh, yes. Here it is, the big boy bag. What a triumph of sewing. This is great. I'll take this out. We'll talk about that in a second. It stood up really, really nicely. So loud. It is really loud, but other than that, it's okay. This thing's been great. It goes with me every Tuesday to the comic book shop. Body, this has worked really, really well for very specific use case. Like it fits everything I need to take to work and absolutely nothing else. And as you saw in the video, if you overfill it, it's just too heavy. What I've also found is that if I have to do any more than like my commute, it just gives me a bit of a bad back. I maybe need to look into that. Maybe that's a common thread with like sling bags, that if they're too heavy, you're just gonna like squish your back in a weird way. We should probably look at the stitching and see how it's held up, because this is some of the worst stitching you'll ever see. Making that teardown film on my sewing machine was actually super useful. Really helped me understand why the stitching on this is so bad. And then there's this. This was my other plastic bag material project, my laptop sleeve. And this is a sleeper hit. This thing's fantastic. This does not have any of the problems that the big bag has with the stitching. This is slightly waterproof, this is padded, this is strong, this has additional carry space. It's a really great design. I'm pretty pleased with myself. This is like possibly a perfect sew. I don't know if I made any. Oh, I did, didn't I? I made a mistake. The side panel was a bit too short, so I had to add that extra bit in, but it's not become a thing. I don't think that video is getting as many views as it possibly deserves. The output of it, the final product is great. I don't know when I'm next going to use this plastic material. I haven't got any grand schemes in mind. The thing I probably will do is I'll probably remake the Warboy, because that is, do you want to see? This zip pull has snapped in half, which makes it a bit awkward. And also this whole bit of fabric has like come loose from the sewing, so that flap doesn't really exist anymore. But I think it will be an upcycle. It will be, I'll take apart this and try and reuse as many bits as I can and change the bits that need to be changed. And I will wear a mask. Somebody commented, I know it's really unhealthy. So yeah, definitely if you're gonna make something like this, you're gonna make these sheets of plastic, definitely get yourself a respirator. It's just sensible. No more huffing plastic fumes for this guy. And here it is, my absolute favorite thing I've sewn this year. Maybe. This is my baseball shirt. I've been wearing it. I've worn it a lot. I wore it a lot for summer. It was like such a nice thing to put on. I haven't taken the buttons off and realigned them so that they actually sit nicely and I can actually button it up. But if you just button the top one, it looks fine. Obviously the sleeves were a fault and a failing, and but you know what? I just don't really care. I did actually take to Reddit on this one and ask the people on our sewing where I went wrong, and they had lots of nice ideas. They had some good things to point out. I think ultimately there shouldn't have been any curve on the sleeve head at all, and what I should have probably done is just like flipped the shape of the pattern on the body and just applied that to the head. But what is going to happen is I'm going to try this garment again for summer next year. I'll make version 2 of my baseball shirt. The 3 drafting films that supported this garment were hugely important to me. They had to be made. I had to know how to draft. It's a shame that they're not really getting watched because there is a lot of good information in there, but I get it, it's boring. I asked at the end of this film, do you want me to include the drafting in the films? Well, the reality is drafting's gonna stay. Drafting is what I'm into. Like that's the bit of the process that I probably enjoy the most. I just have to find a way of making it exciting and interesting television. Here's another triumph of the channel, the carpenter trousers. So pleased with these. They've gotten worn a lot. Basically, once they came off the sewing machine, they were on my legs pretty much continually until I'd finished the forever jeans. But they have been languishing in the wardrobe the last couple of weeks. And the only reason that is because I got myself some new trainers for the winter. Because something that Anton said on his channel.
But going out in those pure white shoes in the wettest, muddiest season of the year just tells me that you either have absolutely nothing else to wear, or you just didn't think about what you were wearing at all.
These trainers are a little bit smaller, which means that the cuffs hang over the edge and they get dragged about in the muddy, wet horror show that is Glasgow at the moment. So for now, to protect them from me, they're sitting in the cupboard until I start wearing my nice trainers again. We did have a immediate accident. We ripped the arse on them. Turns out that the flat felled seam on this, I never actually caught the edge on the inside. I don't know if you can see that there, but it's just one line of stitching that was holding them in place. That line of stitching's ripped because also I was using this, what thread did I use on this? But I don't think I used a heavy enough gauge of thread on this to like really make these as strong as they could be. And I just hand sewed them up. The job that I did on them is terrible, but fundamentally it's totally strong now. And it doesn't seem like the flat felled on anywhere else seems to be particularly weak. The only thing that I'm slightly disappointed with, these shapes here going round, everything's very, very boxy. I probably should have tried to put more of a slant on the patch pockets or a curve or something just to change up the look a little bit. Up until the point that I made the repairs on the Forever jeans, they were in daily rotation, which does let me segue into talking about my favorite garment that exists. Like, these are the Forever jeans. Since they've come off the machine, they have been worn constantly. Like, they get washed. I have a day where I'm wearing a different pair of trousers and then they go back on. They just are me in garment form. There's absolutely no structural faults with them. They've not had the same like arse rip or anything like that. They have changed shape, like we talked about that in the film, but I've changed the stride. Basically, it feels like the crotch is a little bit lower, and like when I'm at full stride, it's a little bit tighter. These are not a garment for going quickly, but I'm not a man that goes quickly. I still haven't hemmed the cuffs, and I think at this point, that's not happening. They've matted up really nicely, so they seem to be protecting themselves. And then the other faults of like where the patchworks meet up and stuff like that, there's nothing particularly bad at the moment. And to be honest, I'm just excited for when they do go wrong, because that means I get to add more patches to them. I get to add more detail. If you're anything like me, you hoard clothes that you love that you don't know what to do with, hence why this blanket exists. Get your favorite jeans that you just don't wear anymore, take them apart, patch them up, fix up the materials, and then put them back together again, and you will just be rewarded with such an awesome garment. Ah, yes, the hamcus hoodie. First of all, I wear it, mainly slouching around the house though. It's definitely a hangout hoodie. It's had a couple of tours out into the world. There are some issues. If you're working with like secondhand garments, bunch of different materials, bunch of different manufacturing processes, sometimes you'll find that when you wash them, they'll shrink at different rates. Like usually, the best thing about working with existing well-worn garments is that they've been washed so many times, there is no shrinkage in them. They sort of stay the same size, but the jumper that gave the raglan sleeves has shrunk a little bit more than the rest of the body as I've been washing it and wearing it and stuff like that. So they've kind of got shorter, which is a bit annoying. It's a bit annoying, but if you just roll up the sleeves, it's not too bad. Obviously, I hate everything about this hood, the horror show that is my sewing on the inside of this, and using the high contrast green has not helped it. What I said in the film still rings true. It's too long. It should have been cropped to the hips, not the waist. No, sorry, it should have been cropped to the waist, not the hips. Front pockets are a bit heavy and a bit overly engineered, but ultimately this is a great wee garment. It's not for going out into the world, but you know, it's fine. There will be another one of these, absolutely 100% next year. I'm going to be making this again. We'll see if I follow the plan that I outlined in the video. I don't see why not. I'm kind of excited to see that garment happen. This is a great piece of learning, if nothing else, like how you take multiple existing garments, rip them apart and put them back together again. I kind of drew all my style lines before I had ripped the panels, which is the opposite of what you should do. So this is my top tip, and this is something that I'm going to talk about more in upcoming videos where I continue this process. You want to rip apart your panels and then use those to like add your style lines, because that's the maximum amount of fabric you're going to get out of any one panel. By using those at the pattern drafting stage, once you've got the shape, the overall silhouette of the garment, and then you need to figure out how you're going to put it together using these scraps. You want to lay out these scraps and then you want to start marking the style lines. We will talk about this in greater detail on my next big project, my next big garment project. What I like about this one the most is that the people that have found this film and talked to me about it are also like, yeah, hamcus is awesome. It seems to be like striking a chord with a group of people that I feel quite like-minded with. There's something here, but this isn't it. This is like very much the first part of it. And this is the last garment we'll look at today. It is my patchwork kilt. Like all kilts, it just lives in a cupboard, not being worn, because you only wear them for weddings, and nobody's invited me to a wedding yet. But I'm excited for when they do, because this garment will come back out. I'll take it apart and I will work really, really hard to make this a much better kilt. It killed the channel making 4 films back to back about kilts. It was just too niche and cost me a lot of just really set me back on the channel's growth, but worth it. The garments come first here. I'm not gonna just blindly chase audience. I'm just gonna keep making garments that I actually need or want or fulfill a purpose to me. Sometimes I'm gonna be making stuff that nobody's really interested in, and that's fine, because I'm not gonna stop making videos. But I made a kilt, and you know what? That's pretty impressive. This is not an easy garment to make, and I made one that I could wear. Yes, it's too big, and yes, it's so far away from being, you know, an authentic, proper Scottish kilt. It is so much closer to those naff blooming tactical wear kilts that you get on Amazon. The faults on this are just purely down to the fact that this is a very, very complicated garment to make and requires real precision that I'm still aspiring to, which is why when I make it again, I'm hoping that my skill level will be much higher, and these pleats, which are the crux of the whole build, I'm confident that I will be able to properly deliver next time. That's all the garments I've got to show you today. If anything piqued your interest, highly recommend going and watching the video. Let me know in the comments what you enjoyed, what you want to see me work harder on, where you want me to go in the coming year. I do have some plans for that. While I've got you, do you want to have a little look at what I've got planned for next year? All right, give me a second. I need to go get my computer. Okay, so 2024.
Let's just fade that guy out. He's been going on for, oh God, 13 minutes. Okay, 2024 plans, speedrun. I have 25 slots for films and a very long list of projects. One of the things I messed up this year was that I was making hoodies on the hottest days of the year. So I plan to break down my projects by season. This winter, I'm going to try my first piece of women's wear with a Valentine's Day special. I'm trying to recreate this vest my wife has been spamming at me. I've been putting off making curtains for the studio. I'll pick that up in the spring, and we'll be using that box of tees you saw earlier. I've had this idea for a rain cape floating around for ages, so that will have to happen. And with all my trouser patterning knowledge, I'll make a much better version of the NS23s to make sure I don't miss out on that 1 week of Scottish sun. Summer will see the return of the baseball shirt, and my youngest starts school, so I'll force him to wear one of my creations, at least on the first day. Then autumn will be the big one. Jackets is the challenge for this year, and I plan to fix the appropriation jacket and transform my old bomber jacket. Look at him, he's really excited about it. Otherwise, there will be the usual Halloween costume and Christmas make, even though nobody watches them. All this sounds super ambitious, but if you watched last year's roundup, you'll know that I sort of delivered on the stuff I had planned. If you've stuck around this long, you're probably one of the few people interested enough to find out. you should subscribe if you haven't already, and maybe give me a comment for encouragement. Let me know which of these seems exciting to you. Otherwise, I'll let you get on with your lives, and me and the rest of the Unpickers wish you a very happy new year.